Hey guys, I know the setting is a little different. The setup is completely different, but I wanted to do a little behind the scenes of my sample making process for when my mama wanna call me. Hold on, be right back. Okay, so I'm back. I had to FaceTime my mom. She's with my niece and I had to play peekaboo with my niece, who's only a few months old. But anyway, I digress. I'm basically just doing a little behind the scenes video because I felt like all the informational videos were great and everything and they're doing great for my channel, but I kind of want to break it up so you guys can kind of see where I'm coming from and like how I run my business and things like that, because I feel like it'll help. But for inspirational purposes, I'm just going to do this behind the scenes of creating different samples that I really want to bring to life for my next collection, because I do want to do a small limited collection before my big collection comes out next year. So that's what I'm doing right now. And let me get another light because I feel like I'm orange because I'm only using my desk light instead of an actual light. Hold on. That helped a little, but it's because the light is behind me. Bear with me. But anyway, right now I'm recreating one of my best sellers from this past year, 2019 and 2018 actually. I did a tie top and it was just like a basic tie top. You tie around and you can tie it in a bow, you can tie it around your neck, you can tie it around like in reverse where it's a tube top and then like a bow tie in the back. So I'm recreating it now, but this time I wanted to do a little different because I wanted to use a more stiff fabric, and I chose linen, and I chose this dark chocolate color linen. Ooh, it's so nice. But I wanted to use this linen because it just looks good. It looks more luxurious. This linen is really expensive, so I'm trying not to mess up my first sample of it. But yeah, it's pretty expensive to get this fabric, especially out here, because I didn't go like downtown LA. I actually went to a manufacturer to get the linen. But so I'm doing this sample right now. I'm just pinning it so I can do a top stitch on it so it'll lay. And I'm using a contrasting stitch. I'm using a black stitch. Let me see. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I'm using this black stitch. Sorry if you can't see it, but it's black on here and this is a chocolate brown. And the reason I'm using a contrasting stitch is because I'm going to put some black fringe on the ends, if I can find the end. I'm going to put some black fringe on the end so it'll create a little bit of movement, especially when you tie it up. It's going to look super cute, super pretty to wear. And you can wear this with like denim. You can wear this with your swimsuit if you're just having like a day at the beach and you want to hang out. That's why I love tie tops, but I do feel like a more luxurious fabric makes a tie top that much better. I'm going to show you the first one that I had. Let's see. So the first tie top that I had was this one. It's like a, I don't know, it's the camera. Let me move this light some. I don't know if the camera is picking this up well, but it's see-through, which was super cute. That was the idea of this, but it's see-through, but it's kind of ribbed. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of a ribbed fabric and it's super stretchy. Look at that, like it stretches like crazy. It stretches so well. And I actually made these are the ones I make myself, and I made these I believe 3 times. I made them twice last year and I made them once in 2018 around the time that I launched my swimwear brand, and they did so well. At first I guess I second guess myself sometimes as a designer, but also as just somebody being on social media. You're gonna second guess yourself a lot when it comes to your original work and your original designs. And I second guess myself on this because I was like, well, I like it, but is anybody else gonna like it? And I do that with everything. But the reason why I end up producing this and putting it up on my website was because of the way that it fits and the way that it looks. Like, if you follow any swimwear brands, you'll probably notice they have like the pictures, like the way that certain things look when you're on vacation as opposed to you just wearing it on a regular day, it definitely translates differently. And so for me, these work good for people that travel and they just want that sexy vibe and stuff, and they want to wear something that's really light and airy. And this is what that is. And it comes to like a little point and it ties up and everything. But again, the stretch is so good. You're able to stretch it across your body so well. It also has elastic banding in there, so it does fit snug if you wanted to wear it in reverse as opposed to it just like flying all over the place. So you basically tie it. See how it fits really snug? And if you want to wear it obviously the opposite way, you would tie it the opposite way, cover your boobs obviously, and be able to tie it, knot it, wear it like that, like different ways. But the idea behind this was to have a top that is functional and you can wear it in different ways. So that's why I designed it like that. And I made it see-through because it's sexy. Like if your shirt is like wet, obviously at the beach, you have on a see-through top. On vacation, it's more appropriate. Now everybody's not like me. Everybody's not all free the nipple or whatever, and everybody's not very comfortable with their bodies, and I understand that, but that's why it's a tie top. You can totally wear a tank top underneath it. You can wear a bra underneath it because it is strapless, but it'll create the illusion of everything. So that's that. I've been talking too long. Let me get back to sewing really quick and I'll show you what this looks like. Now that everything's all pinned, I can go ahead and sew this really quickly, and I'm gonna have to do the same thing on the opposite end because it's a symmetrical type top, but I'm gonna do that and not bore you guys. So here we go. Also, this top is not gonna have like the elastic banding, and I think that's really something that just as a fashion designer or a swimwear designer, if you are in the same position as I am where you're creating your own samples and things like that before it gets to like production with the manufacturer or anything, you have to know every single detail about your garment before you have someone else try and make it for you. But also when you have structured fabrics and you want to use elastic, you have to know the measurements, and I advise you to use a little bit more than what you would need, because when you put elastic on something that is already measured for your actual sizes and you put elastic on it, it's going to shrink it down. So technically it's going to be like a size and a half smaller, or maybe even a whole like 2 sizes smaller, because elastic shrinks your measurements. So you have to weigh in those factors of when you're using elastic, how much fabric you need to cut and things like that, so you don't lose out on fabric and you just don't lose out actually on your actual design or samples, because you're technically going to be wasting fabric if you're not properly measuring in all factors. And that includes elastic, that includes the thread, that includes the seam allowances. You need to include all of that when you are sizing. I have my size, I don't even know, usually my sizing chart is like right there, but I don't have it up. But I did pre-measure this already with a pattern and everything, so I know, you know, what this is. And it's different from the stretchy fabric, so I actually use more fabric for something that's not stretchy. This is linen, but it's, you can see how it's like very structured. It has maybe that much stretch in it, like the tiniest bit of stretch. So I cannot use the same pattern as the stretchy one like I would use on this one, because this one again doesn't stretch like that one. So that one I can use less fabric because it stretches more, and this one I use more fabric because it does not stretch. So just a little bit of advice. Okay guys, I brought you in a little bit closer to tell you about the threads and stuff. For this fabric, because it doesn't stretch, I can totally use a straight stitch, and I can use a double needle. Because it's a sample, I'm just going to use one needle, but ideally I would use a double needle for the finished product. And so the double needle is just really secure, and it creates a double line like you would see on most finished seams, especially with denim. But if this was a stretchy fabric like my other one was, you would definitely use a zigzag stitch if you are not using an overlock machine. So if you're not using an overlock machine, if you have a regular machine and you're using stretchy fabrics, make sure you're using a zigzag stitch. And there's a lot of tutorials here on YouTube that you can type in what type of zigzag stitch to use on different types of stretchy fabrics. And it's also going to come down to the needle as well. You can change your needle out because all needles are not made equal, and you can ruin your fabric if you're using the wrong needles. So just a reminder, quick tip, that stretchy fabrics need some sort of zigzag because it'll allow your items to stretch. As you can see, this one stretches on a bias like that, but I don't have it cut on a bias because it will lose its shape if you wore this too many times. A linen fabric cut on bias that's made for a tie top, it just doesn't work the same. So anyway, let me stop talking. I'm not using my presser foot with this. I'm just letting it guide by itself because I don't feel like using the presser foot. I don't feel like stopping and going and whatever. So it does have an automatic one. I'll show you. I'll link my sewing machine down below for you guys for the one that I use. I'll try to go into more detail. I don't think I explained what sewing machine I used before because I haven't done an actual tutorial. But this one has a basic embroidery setting. Sorry, a basic embroidery setting and everything like that on here. It's really good, especially for if you want to make your own clothing tags. You can totally use this for that. If you don't want to spend too much money, if you're not ready at that manufacturing level, you can use this machine. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it. It has tons of different stitches and it's honestly very easy to use, but you can get a lot of work done with this machine and a lot of great finished product. So yeah. Okay, so now that I've actually sewn this sample, by the way, follow me on my Instagram. This is where I usually show like my samples. I show it on my Instagram stories, or I ask questions like polls and things like that to see how you guys feel about them. So after I do this, like after I make samples, I try to do some sort of photo of it because I need to capture it, and I also like to add them to my private Pinterest board, so that way when it's on my Pinterest board I have basically a better outlook on the full collection, as opposed to me just randomly producing things and not having a storyboard for it. But when I do this, I go through the same processes that I talk to you guys about all the time, as far as like building your brand story. I already know my brand story because I've been in business now since 2018, but when it comes to developing collections, that story doesn't change. You add to the story by building on that collection, because collections tell individual stories. But like I said, I like to capture pictures, so that's what I'm going to do. Everything looks good on top of here. Like all my pictures on top of here for flat lay photos look amazing. I like to use white sometimes, so I'll use like a white backdrop or a white wall to do different types of photos. For this, I like the contrast because I do have black in it. So I'm going to take some pictures on top of here. I'm going to clean these glasses because fingerprints are everywhere. But yeah, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to take a picture of this new tie top with these bikini bottoms. I made these earlier this year. I didn't put them into production because I was honestly just making a pair for me to go on vacation. I wore these to Cancun, and I got a lot of compliments at the resort. It has the scrunch butt, which makes your butt look amazing. So it's a scrunchy bottom. I also have the fringe on the side, as you can see, and I also have tassels that hang jewelry on there. It's super cute because of the scrunchy butt part, the scrunch on the back. It makes your butt cheeks look amazing, no matter if you have a very small butt or if you have a super huge butt. The scrunch butt is the way to go if you want your butt to look amazing. Okay, so basically what I do on here, I leave the hanger on here sometimes because it actually gives a cool little vibe. Oh, thanks text messages. It gives a cool little vibe. So it just depends on how you do it. But the main idea here is to make sure that you are actually capturing your clothing. If you're selling clothing or if it's swimwear, make sure you're actually getting those detail shots. And everything doesn't have to be straight like this. Like it doesn't have to be like straight across, and then straight across. You can create a lot of movement if you layer your pieces accordingly. Like this, I'm trying to straighten it out because it has tassels, but ultimately I'm pretty sure I'm going to turn it like this. And I just need a picture capturing details. I don't need the whole thing in there because that's what the product photos are for. What I'm going to be capturing is not all of this. I just want to capture this. So I just take my phone. Another part of my creative process when I am trying to come up with a new idea for a collection, or when I'm designing a completely new collection, I always like to think of the editorial factor. And the editorial factor is the things that you would need for your photo shoots and things like that. And I've been having a lot of inspo come from like yarn. I don't know why, but I've been saving a lot of pictures of yarn lately. I know it's weird. I've been coming up with some editorial pieces, and this is one of them. This is going to photograph really, really well. It's just like, it's going to be a swim cover and a belt, but I created a little texture. I'm still not done with this piece, but created a little texture at the bottom. So this is going to photograph really, 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 really well, and I cannot wait to get some photos of this. I want a one piece that is more sporty, because that's the vibe of my brand. I have a sporty brand, so I'm trying to come up with something more sporty. I have a few ideas that I want, but I also want it to be flattering for everybody type. Usually the girls that visit my site, they like the small bikinis, they like the low-rise bikinis, they like the very minimal coverage type bikinis. But the direction that I'm taking my brand is more for athleisure, vacation type styles. And I do personally like the little bikinis, but I also want to have something available for, you know, women who don't really care to show everything. So I'm trying to come up with a one-piece swimsuit that is not full coverage, but minimal, like medium coverage, where you still got a little bit of butt cheek out, but not so much to where it's a thong, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to come up with something like that that will look good underneath this. Right now I'm just sketching out a couple of ideas, and I'm going to show you exactly how I come up with rough sketches. By no means are these professional, so don't be looking at my sketches and judging me, okay? But let me show you how I come up with my rough sketches. So basically I'm going to start off like that with a straight bust, because when it's snug at the top, you can have a little bit of cleavage come out, because it's going to push your boobs up. And in order to push your boobs up, you want to be able to have some sort of indent on the side of your bust, because it creates that squeeze, if that makes any sense. I want a swimsuit that is going to look flattering for the bust for anybody, no matter if you have a smaller bust or a larger bust. I haven't seen anyone that doesn't look good in a high cut bikini. And the reason why I say that is because when I think of a high cut bikini, you can be a plus size woman, you can be a very, very thin woman, but high cut bikinis, if they are fitted right at that pelvic bone, it's gonna cover, if you are feeling insecure, it's gonna cover that stomach. If you're small, it's going to create a higher line to give you longer legs, so you're gonna look taller. But this part is important. If you go too high, plus size women most likely would not want to wear it because it's too high up and it's not giving enough of that coverage. But if you go too low, it's also going to cut them off and give them awkward shape. It's going to have the love handles be all weird and things like that. So I would want to create something that's just at that pelvic muscle and it's enough coverage. You have to give the illusion when you're designing swimwear, the illusion that you're pulling every woman in, but also flattering and elongating their body to look a little bit taller. So that's just a general idea. So you guys, I don't want this video to get too long. So I am going to do a part 2 of this kind of behind the scenes and walking you through my process of creating samples and things like that. So my next part 2 I'm going to try to film very soon for you guys, and it'll be basically behind the scenes of creating swimsuit patterns and things like that, how you can actually use your own swimsuits to create different swimsuit patterns, so that way when it's time for you to actually produce something or produce any type of clothing or even a swimwear line, you have your actual size, and then you could go to your manufacturer based off of your size, and you can probably get a better idea of how to create your patterns in full-on production mode. I don't know if that made sense to you, but it made sense to me in my head when I just said it. So stay tuned for part 2. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel by clicking the subscribe button. Make sure you guys are hitting the like button because it lets me know that you like this content. Also follow me on Instagram because you'll be able to see some of these pieces like behind the scenes. Follow me on my main page. Follow me on my brand page as well. And yeah, let me know you guys came from YouTube because that's awesome. And I'll see you guys on part 2, but before that there'll be way more videos before part 2, so